Hi everyone, I'm reading with Jack, and today I'm here with a new book review of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which is the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicle series. I read this at the end of July with my friend Shah from Shah's New Chapter. We did it as a buddy read and we both really enjoyed this book. It's absolutely amazing, and I wanted to come on today and talk about it in a little bit more depth, share my thoughts and opinions and tell you what I think of it. So if you don't already know, The Name of the Wind is basically about this man called Quoth. He is a legendary wizard in the world of the book. There's a lot of rumours going around about Quoth, and he wants to kind of set the facts straight. He wants everyone to know the truth. So he's basically talking to this man called Chronicler and recounting his life story. In this one we get a little bit about his childhood, his adolescence, and then as well his time at the university, where he's learning all of this wizardry magic stuff. Basically it's just about his life, and each story in the series deals with a different part of it. So first of all I'd like to talk about the characters, and I think Quoth is an amazing character. I loved reading about him. He's probably one of my favourite male characters that I've ever read about. What I really like about him is the fact that he's very believable and there are so many layers to his character. He is very legendary, he's very heroic and brave, but at the same time he's quite innocent at times and also quite vulnerable, and I really like this. I think that he's a flawed character. At times he's even quite arrogant about his own intelligence, but I really liked this because I thought it made him realistic. It was actually quite easy to connect with him from the very beginning. Then there's also Ambrose, who is basically the antagonist, and Ambrose is a horrible character who absolutely hates Quoth. And as obviously the reader is supporting Quoth, everyone hates Ambrose and loves to hate Ambrose, and he's having this ongoing feud with Quoth, and it's quite entertaining, and I think it just again adds a believable, realistic dimension to the book. Everything is so realistic and believable, and I really appreciate that. The characters are so well developed, and every character has an intricate backstory. No character is left out and put to the side. As far as the plot's concerned, again, it's very complex and there are loads of layers to it. It's a multifaceted plot. I think in some ways it's so complex that I would actually benefit from rereading the book. I think I would pick up on a lot of things that I didn't find the first time. Obviously the first time reading I understood what was happening and, you know, I got to know the characters, but I think the second time would be even better in a way. I definitely found that at the beginning of the book in particular it was a little bit confusing and I had to kind of get my head around what was happening. Obviously at the beginning of the book there's an introduction to a lot of the characters. Because Quoth's such an inquisitive character and he's very intelligent and can keep up with everything, he wants to know everything about everyone that he comes across and asks everyone their life story. So when he meets a new character there's often quite a few pages of narrative about one character's backstory. I really appreciated the fact that each character was very well developed, but initially it was hard to remember who was who and who did what. Everything quickly fell into place, however, and once everything had got going, I absolutely loved it. It was such an entertaining read, and I couldn't stop reading. It's quite a long book, but it almost feels like quite a short book in a way because you want to keep reading and reading, and you just can't stop because you need to know more about Quoth and his life and the things that he's been through, all of the highs and lows. There are great times for Quoth and there are horrible times as well. Again, very realistic. The other thing I'd like to talk about related to the plot is the themes that are raised, and I think the themes, again, very realistic and very relevant to today's society. It is obviously a fantasy world and there are unknown places, there are unknown characters, and everything's brand new to us. But at the same time it feels very relevant and current to today's society, which I really liked. It felt like I could relate to it and I could take a lot of moral messages from it. There's a lot of discussion about poverty in society and how it can segregate people, and it was really interesting to see how Quoth reacted to different financial situations that he was in. His situation is always changing, and I could really see the change in him as a character based on what was happening in his financial life, in his financial situation. So I thought the themes were absolutely fantastic, very thought-provoking, and again I think if I reread the book I would pick up on even more themes. Finally, let's talk about the writing style. The writing is beautiful and dynamic and vivid, and I just absolutely loved it. It's very fluent style, it's very eloquent and easy to read, but there are some amazing descriptions that are so complex and so detailed, and it was so easy for me to picture absolutely everything that was happening. From the very first page, I could picture what Quoth looked like. I could picture the other characters throughout the book as well. I could picture where things were taking place and what everything looked like, all the different locations, particularly the university. That was very vivid in my mind. I could really picture that, and I just loved kind of being in the world with Quoth. It felt like I was there with him, experiencing things as he was experiencing them. Patrick Rothfuss has a great writing style, and I don't think I can fault anything about it. So for The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, I decided to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because it has to be probably one of my favourite reads of the year so far. It was so entertaining, and I'm so happy that I didn't procrastinate any longer, because I put this book off for so long, about a year. And I would just say you shouldn't do that. You should not procrastinate reading this. If you've got this on your shelf, read it now. And if you haven't got it, you should buy it because it's a great one. And I think for fantasy lovers it's going to be fantastic. But even if you're not really into fantasy, I think it's quite a good one to read anyway, because I don't read a lot of fantasy and I really enjoyed it. Obviously a few things were a little bit complicated to start with, but once things had got going, I couldn't fault anything. It was an amazing read, and a huge recommendation from me. So everyone, that is it for my review of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Please let me know down below in the description if you've read this book and what you thought of it. I know it gets a lot of positive reviews on YouTube. Loads of people in the booktube community have been reading this book and raving about it, and now I can join in and rave about it as well. So thanks for watching, and I will see you all again in my next video.